first way I dealt with it, I was reading a book when my oldest daughter was born. I had to play a concert, and I was particularly nervous because the amplifier wasn't working or something like that. And I had been reading this book about the inner game of music. And the book talked about how when you're playing, you can actually channel your energy by just imagining something. So I picked up the phone and I was talking to my daughter on the telephone. I started to play. I was on stage, I was in front of a lot of people, and I just suddenly thought, well, I'll just imagine I'm having a conversation. And I started playing like it was what I was saying in my conversation, and my fear just left. I heard a great one. Actually, one of my teachers at Berklee was Bill Bresnahan, and he was an ensemble teacher. And one time in the ensemble, a young woman was saying she was so nervous, she was afraid she couldn't play. And he said, the word nervous that you're using is really describing an energy. And the energy is in you because you want to play. And if you let it get the best of you, it'll basically keep you from doing the things you want to do. But if you just see it as energy and you try to let yourself do the thing you're trying to do, you'll probably be able to. Every step you take in music, it teaches you new things. So I hope what I've learned through my own experience is going to help my students. I think they're confronting their fears is an important thing for them for their future. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I've gotten to see a lot. I've gotten to play a lot of places, and I think that's the advantage that you have. If you locked yourself in a room and you just said, "Oh, I can't do it. I can't go out," you could become overwhelmed by that. And the world doesn't need that. We need people out there doing their thing. So when I first came to Boston, I had started guitar lessons with Mick Goodrick, and we were talking about teaching. And I told him I didn't think I really wanted to be a teacher. And he said, maybe you haven't taught the right people yet, and you should keep an open mind about that. And Mick was a very important mentor for me when I got here because he showed me so many things about music that I loved. He understood the music of Bach, and his concept of jazz guitar and improvising was opening my mind to things that I hadn't thought of before. And I started to realize that I was, in a way, having this love of my music expanded through this other person. So I really started to feel an appreciation for teaching. And then when my kids were born, actually my oldest daughter was born, I still lived in this area, and I was writing music. Like, she would go to sleep at night and I would play pieces I wrote on the piano for her so she'd go to sleep. And I started to feel this kind of bond with my students because I started to realize that in a way I was for them like a surrogate parent. They're away at school, they're trying to learn about music, and I could feel what it felt like to be a father, to have a child, and then I wanted to share my love of music with my students. And that really changed a lot of things. I have to say my feeling about teaching kind of became much fuller and complete. Music is really, basically, it's the deepest spiritual food to me. That's what I feel like my students are trying to be nurtured through writing and playing music, and they want to share that with other people. And I think that the beauty that comes from that is something that you can't replace. They're going to have self-doubt, and they're going to confront their own questioning as to whether they can do the things that they really want to do in music. And this is where I feel, as a teacher, it's important for me to help them to have strategies to protect their enthusiasm and to be vulnerable enough to be able to listen to their own heart and what music is in them. One of the people that inspired me from where I grew up was Walter Anderson. Walter Inglis Anderson is his full name, and he was a painter. Life as it was on the Gulf Coast, which is where he grew up, and it's also where I grew up. So he went back there, and he used to take time to go out to an island and be among wild birds and just paint. And when I was bringing my children back, I have 2 daughters, and when they were becoming teenagers, I wanted to bring them back to where I grew up, and we went to the museum where his paintings of this little room he had, which was about creation. And it was a very beautiful place, and we happened to be there at sunset, and the light was coming in, and I started to feel something I hadn't felt before. It was really, for me, like I had a sensation that this was something that it reached me in a deep way, and I wanted to be able to turn it into music in some way. And the students basically that graduate from Berklee a lot of times are well prepared to be creative, but they need that encouragement, and they need to feel that there's a chance for them that their voice will be able to develop and be heard by a lot of people and have a meaningful impact on society. So a lot of my teachers encourage me that way, and I feel that's my big responsibility, is to try to encourage my students, even when I may say, look, this piece that you wrote needs this, or I might be correcting things about it. In the end, I want to preserve and help them preserve their enthusiasm, so they'll want to go on and do the things that matter to them.